He said heroin.
Heroin's a big one right now.
And we're not seeing a whole lot of that yet here. I'm sure that it's there, but we're not seeing a lot with the juveniles yet. But we're seeing a lot of opioids and that kind of thing.
A lot of benzos.
Which is the same thing, heroin.
Yeah, well,
opioids,
it is.
Same thing?
Yeah.
It is, but we're just not seeing the kids that are actually, they may be using the heroin, but we don't seem to be getting them charged with possession. So they must have already used it or whatever,
It
and
may be a
didn't
slightly
get caught
older
with
age
it.
group too.
But
I think so.
But we are seeing a lot of them with pills, and a lot of them with pills that they don't even know they have. I mean, I just think that's, I mean, they've got a bag of pills and they don't even know where they got it.
I found out about probably 2 years ago now, today. My nephew and my niece,
Thank you very much.
17, 16, whatever, and they called it, let's see, they mix it with a Fanta drink, and so they'll put something in it, and so they call it Xanta or whatever the drug is, plus the back end.
Oh, dear.
And I said to them, like, you know, my nephew, of course, had experienced it. He didn't know what the drug was, but he had drank the drink, really. But so, and that's like 2 years ago for me. So I'm like,
That's becoming more of a problem. It really is.
Something else that we had a big run on for a while was synthetic cannabinoids, and that's the bath salts and
not hash.
yeah,
What do you call it when you the incense?
yeah.
What do you call it?
Yeah.
Well, it's called.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
using the incense. to
Yeah,
do it.
oh yeah, and of course they call it, you know, the street name I think is they call it lean.
Yeah.
But,
What do they call it?
lean,
Lean?
lean, and basically what happens is these are, these synthetics, will be made illegal, and then they'll change the metabolites so that it's legal. It's very, very difficult to test for that. I can send it to a lab and test for it.
So you gotta know what you're
But,
testing for.
well, they
Yes.
test,
Yes.
when we test for synthetics, we test for 18 different metabolites. It takes a long time to get it back from the lab, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
But they change the metabolites
It does.
all the time.
That's when they couldn't trace.
Wow.
And triple C's,
Yeah.
Corseed,
Too many chemical engineers out
cough and
there.
cold.
It is.
Clearly. Yeah, a lot of times what you guys will see with a lot of these charges is that a lot of these parents, they will be clueless that this stuff is going on.
No doubt.
And you can tell when they're sitting in front of you and they're hearing their child admitting to some of the stuff that they've been doing that they had no idea. No idea.
My sister-in-law's kids are in middle to high school right now. My kids have all graduated college. I'm like, you don't know, not my kids. I'm like, yes, they
We
are.
don't ever know.
They're in that high socioeconomic group and they're doing stuff that
It's available to them.
You know,
it just is.
It just
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we try to do everything we can to, we give them the GAIN test, which is a way of us asking a bunch of questions of the kid.
Okay.
And then we enter that information in the computer to try to see, do they need mental health services? Do they need substance abuse services and things like that? But those tests are only as good as the kids' answers.
And true.
And they can lie.
They're smart enough to figure out what is the
They'll
right
almost
answer here.
always, they will almost
So-
always deny substance use.
Yeah.
Of course.
Even unless they are charged,
Yeah.
they will deny
Yeah.
substance use.
And even if they're charged, they sometimes
They
will
still
deny
do it,
it.
yeah.
They'll say, "Oh no, I was just there." Okay.
They were smoking it around me.
Everybody
Secondhand
around me.
opioid use.
It's been
So, yeah, and then they'll say, "I
done.
wasn't drinking." Well, they
But-
did a pass test, and the
Yeah.
pass test said you were. No, wasn't me.
That wasn't
I was
me.
just there. It was a party, and I was there.
It's some spill on
Say,
me.
oh, don't
Some
start with me, don't start with me about secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's amazing the stuff that you hear, and it's kind of scary, but there's usually each year something different that goes on.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it's not part of the statutes at all, but I'll just tell you that one of the things that I hear a lot from kids that come here that have been charged with something that maybe are truant or things like that is, I'm being bullied, I'm being bullied, I'm being bullied. And I don't know how much bullying is really going on and how much is kids saying
That's a
that
big cry wolf.
to maybe, you know, tell their parents. But what I tell them is, you know, there's something I want you to do about that. I want you to go see your resource officer at school, and you tell that resource officer who's bullying you, and you tell them when it's happening, and you tell them the details about it, because they got videos at those schools, and they go back and look at it. If that kid's been picking on you, that resource officer can see it. Well, I don't want that kid to know I turned him in. Oh, and he doesn't have to know. If that officer sees it, then he can start watching for it.
Right.
He can start watching for it. And a lot of times that will, you know, if they're really being bullied, it'll make them understand that there is somebody out there that can help them. And if they're not, it might stop them from saying they're being bullied when they're not, because I think a lot of times they do tell their parents that, but then they've told nobody else, and I don't know that it's true. But when I give them that option, I always tell them to do that, because, you know, the kids that take me up on it, I think something's really going on, but the kids that don't, I kind of think, well, I called their bluff, and that's not going to happen anymore, because that is the new thing that I see a lot of kids saying, is that,
And anxiety.
I was being bullied. And they, yeah, a lot of them have
They have
anxiety.
anxiety.
I get anxiety.
The good thing is.
Welcome to life.
Welcome to
Wait
life.
till you get
When you
kids.
wake up.
Yeah. The good thing is that with this program, you guys get the opportunity to see these kids, see their parents, and just provide them with some wisdom that some of these kids just don't have or won't take from their parents. If the parents have it to give them, they won't take it.
Right, they won't.
But they might take it from a stranger.
Hearing it from
You know,
somebody
And
else.
they might take it from a
this is
stranger.
an extremely successful program.
It is.
The
It is.
recidivism rate is 97%, or the,
Yeah.
so it is better than any of the
97.
programs that we have.
Any
It's
program.
exceptional.
It is.
Because in most cases, when they are held accountable for their actions, and they have to follow through with something,
It sinks in.
it sinks in. Most of the expungements I do are for kids in arbitration, because they never get in trouble again.
And the thing that's most important for me with this program is that they get to see that they did something wrong, but that people haven't given up on them.
Right.
You know, because that's what you guys are basically doing. You're letting them know we haven't given up on you. We still think you can be a great person, but you gotta stop
You
this
gotta,
stuff, and
yeah.
you gotta get it.
Get
You
it
know,
together.
you gotta get it together.
Go this way, not that way.
Yep, yeah, and we want them to see, like, okay, you've been successful in life. You've done great things. You've got a great job. I can do that stuff too, you know? And sometimes they don't want that example from their parents. If the parents have that example to give them, they don't want it from their parents.
No, of course not.
And they don't trust anybody that's like law enforcement. They just don't trust them, because that's not, you know, and teachers, they don't care what the teachers say to them. But somebody that's sitting there saying, look, I understand that you got hard things going on, but you can't do that kind of stuff. I couldn't have gotten away with that. You're not going to get away with that. Sometimes hearing it from a total stranger is exactly what they need. And so that's I think one of the most successful parts of this program. And I think sometimes you will have some hearings where victims will show up. You will have a lot of hearings where victims don't come. But when the victims come, I think it's so effective for that kid to see the person. Sometimes they don't even know the person. They don't even know the person. I can remember a case years ago where it was malicious injury to property, and it was a lady's mailbox got knocked down. When her mailbox got knocked down, she didn't get her Social Security check. She didn't get her medicine, because they didn't do direct deposit back there. You know, in the day, they didn't do that. And she had no way of getting her mail until that mailbox got put back up. And it wasn't back up at the time of the hearing, because she didn't have anybody that could put it back up. And that kid sat in that hearing and had to hear that this little old lady didn't get her medicine because she couldn't get her money because of him. And the next day, that kid and his dad were out there putting up a new mailbox for her. And they weren't told they had to. That's what they did, because they knew. And I guarantee you that kid never damaged anybody else's property, because he saw what he did by just seeing that lady here and hearing her story. He saw what he had done, and he never did anything else. He never got in trouble with us. I mean, I'm sure he's probably in his late 20s or 30s now. He's probably never been in trouble with anybody for anything, because he learned his lesson. And it was just sitting across the table from her and seeing, oh my goodness, I had no idea. Because I'm sure he just thought what he was doing was fun. I think he hit it with a baseball bat or
Yeah,
something.
that's what he
He was
did.
probably
Yeah,
riding down the road, swinging it and he thought it was funny. And he probably had people in the car with him doing it. And he probably thought it was great. But it wasn't. And guess what? He got to see that firsthand. He got to see it. And I think that's the most success that you see from this program is when they get to really see what they did to somebody. And they get to try to make it up to them in some way, you know? And so I think it's a great program. And I am sorry that I have kept you guys late.
That's all right.
But thank you guys for
Good
coming, and we're going to see you again on Monday
Yes.
at 5:30.
Yes.
All right. And Monday, we're going to have some folks here to talk to you about victim services.
Okay.
And we're going to have Keystone here to talk to you a little bit more about substance abuse.
Probably somebody I know.
Probably.
It's always good.
It's not a bad thing.
No. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, y'all,
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank
The rest of the
you.
evening. Thank you, thank you, and
And I
Rose.
get really excited when we have guys as arbitrators.
Here.